Hello everybody and welcome back to a new video. I am Pat from Pat's Path Predictor, and this video we're going to be going over some severe risk days that are going on. We have slight risks for day 1, 2, and 3, as well as a 30% risk now for severe weather for day 4. So we're going to be going ahead and covering all of it. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. Alright, so this is what we have right here. There's a slight risk from northern Minnesota all the way down to central Iowa right here. There's a slight risk right here. Including the cities of Minneapolis, Duluth, and La Crosse, affecting a population area of almost 6.4 million people. Yeah, the marginal risk is from the U.S.-Canadian border down to southern Iowa and northern Missouri, including Des Moines. So that's basically what's going on right there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the tornado threat. The tornado threat's at 5% right here for parts of Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin right here. So, yeah, that's a pretty, it's not the biggest threat, so, yeah, the wind threat's at 15% right here. We're looking at parts of the same area right here. The hail threat, though, is at 15% with a hatched area, which means there's a 15% risk of 2-inch hail or more within 25 miles of a point, so we have to emphasize that real quickly. It also includes the city of Minneapolis as well as St. Paul, so that's what we have right here. So let's go ahead and read the summary, some of the synopsis, as well as what's going to happen in the upper Mississippi Valley. There's a slight risk of severe storms over the upper Mississippi Valley region. Summary: large hail, damaging gusts, and a few tornadoes are all possible over the Mississippi Valley region today into this evening. Synopsis: the basic mid to upper level pattern through the period will feature a positively tilted mean over the western part of Canada into the continental United States, with numerous embedded shortwaves of vorticity maxima. Meanwhile, a already high amplitude downstream ridge, now extending from central Mexico to the across the Arklatex and lower Ohio Valley, southern Ontario, and southeastern Quebec, will amplify further while moving little. The long-lived synoptic cyclone will remain over the Atlantic waters east of the Carolinas. The southwest flow belt downstream from the western mean trough, will cover most of the Rockies, Great Plains, and the mid to upper Mississippi Valley in the upper Midwest. An embedded leading shortwave trough will, with convective vorticity ambiguation now apparent in moisture channel imagery and composited radar fields over South Dakota, will eject northeastward across North Dakota into northern Minnesota today. By 0Z, a closed 500 millibar low should develop along the shortwave trough over southern Manitoba with the trough, extending southeastward into northern Minnesota. The perturbation will eject northeastward over Manitoba and into the northernmost Ontario tonight, leaving most of the rising heights across the central and northern plains in the upper Midwest. So, if you want to know what that mumbo jumbo was, that's basically the jet stream. That's what's that's talking about the setup of the potential severe weather storms today. That's all that we're talking about, the setup right there. So that's okay. Actually, hold on. Okay, they just updated this. We have breaking news. Breaking news! There is now an enhanced risk area for parts of Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin right here. This includes the cities of Minneapolis, St. Paul, Rochester, Bloomington, and Eagan, Minnesota. So that's basically what we have right here. This is the latest update right here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the tornado threat. They have now upped it to 10% right here. The 10% risk for tornadoes right here basically means there's a 10% risk of tornadoes within 25 miles of a point. The wind threat is unchanged right here. They have a 15% risk right here, which right here for parts of Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin. The hail threat is mostly unchanged threat-wise, but the hatched area has greatly expanded. It is now there's a massive area of 15% risk within a hatched area within 25 miles of a point right there. So that's the situation that's going on right now. So yeah, this just changed. So we'll actually read. We'll actually go ahead and read the summary. We'll actually read the we'll not talk about the synopsis anymore. We'll read about why they updated this. An ongoing thunderstorm cluster moving across northern Wisconsin is expected to continue progressing northeastward for the next few hours. Downstream buoyancy will likely remain high enough for storm persistence, with at least some chance of isolated hail or damaging wind gusts reaching as far east as portions of upper Michigan. As the surface low mentioned in the synopsis moves northeastward, a moist low-level air mass will advect northward. As a result, low 70s dew points will be likely in place ahead of the approaching front across southern Minnesota, with upper 60s dew points reaching central Minnesota. This low-level moisture, combined with temperatures in the mid to upper 80s, will result in strong instability across the region. Convective initiation appears likely as the front interacts with this buoyancy, although the warm temperatures aloft, possibly around -8 and -9 degrees Celsius at 500 millibars this afternoon, and background rising heights will limit the overall coverage. Vertical shear will also be quite strong in the region, and the overall environment supports supercells capable of all severe hazards, including very large hail and tornadoes, with any storms that do develop. Highest probabilities for supercells appears to be confined in the fairly limited spidal areas centered in southern Minnesota and west central Wisconsin border vicinity. So, this is the breaking news we have right here. So, that's essentially the latest. We're actually going to go ahead and look at the models right here. This is the HER model as I have pulled up right here. The CAPE values in parts of Minnesota, they get up to 4,000 joules per kilogram. There's no cap to speak of right here. Let's actually go ahead and as the hours go on, that CAPE actually transports, kind of. The 4,000 CAPE diminishes, but there's still a good amount of like 2,500 to 3,000 joules per kilogram, or more of that, in parts of Wisconsin and Iowa. So that's that's the situation we have right here. Let's go ahead and go to the day 2 outlook. This is the day 2 slight risk area for parts of Lubbock, for parts of Texas, including Lubbock and Abilene. So that's essentially this, as well as Midland. So that's basically it. There's no tornado threat in South Texas. There is a 2% risk in parts of Wisconsin and Michigan, though. The wind threat and hail threat are what is driving this stuff up, each 15%. So let's go ahead and read the summary. A few severe storms may evolve across portions of western Texas, the vicinity late during the day, accompanied by a hail and wind risk. A couple of severe storms bring all hazards potential may also develop across central and eastern Wisconsin area during the afternoon. Let's go ahead and let's actually talk about the western Texas vicinity. A modest large-scale ascent spreading across the southern high plains region is expected, as a weak vorticity max shifts northeastward out of the northwestern Mexico across New Mexico and West Texas. As this occurred, the tandem with diurnal heating and mixing, at least in local breaches of the cap, at the base of the EML layer are expected, leading to the late afternoon isolated storm initiation. Given some steep lap rates atop of the area, developing storms would be fueled by an ample instability. This, combined with the moderate to veering flow with height, suggests multi-cell weak supercell organization with attendant risks of damaging wind and hail. Wind potential would be augmented by the deep, dry, late afternoon boundary layer, facilitating south cloud evaporation and thus potential downdraft acceleration. Storms should peak in coverage and intensity by early evening, then slowly diminish diurnally. So basically what that means is that this stuff, there's going to be some severe storms that are going to be isolated. The cap's going to break in a few spots, not widespread, and that's what's going to give these storms some fire right there. But after that time passes, the cap's going to be reestablished, and those storms are going to die out. So let's go ahead and go to the day 3 outlook. This is an interesting development we have right here. There's a slight risk issued for Minnesota as well as the Dakotas right here. So this severe stuff is moving to the north. Let's go ahead and read the summary as well as what's going on in the Central High Plains. Summary: local all hazards risks for scattered severe storms is expected to evolve over parts of the north central central United States Wednesday, with more isolated hail and wind potential across the central and southern high plains, portions of the Dakotas and the upper Mississippi Valley. While details remain uncertain, A gradual northward advance of the warm front across the mid-Missouri Valley is expected through the day. As a weak vortex shifts north-northeastward across the plains, widely scattered storm development is expected, largely near and to the cool side of the front. Given expectations for a capped warm sector beneath upper ridging, veering and increased flow with height will result in deep layer shear sufficient for rotating storms. With updrafts aided with the steep lapse rates aloft and strong cape, a few severe storms are expected to evolve. With storms nearing the front in the late afternoon and evening, locally damaging winds and or hail is possible along these risks for a tornado. Farther north into the overnight hours, as primarily elevated convection is possible, large hail will be likely the predominant risk. So that's essentially why they issued the slight risk. There's still uncertainty, but they think the hail is going to be the biggest risk, and they think there's going to be some potential supercells. So that's why they went with the slight risk. We're actually going to move on to day 4 because this is a very interesting development right here, and I wanted to get to this. I wanted to get to this quickly. For day 4, there is a 30% risk for parts of Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. It was 15% earlier. Now they've upped it to 30%, which, for those of you who do not know, that is equivalent to an enhanced risk of severe weather. So, yeah, we'll have to read into why they issued it like that, but this thing is not kidding around at this point. Yeah, we've seen some 15% risks flop, but this is not kidding around. We could be seeing a potentially big severe weather event up in the upper United States right here. So we'll go ahead and take a look at it. Discussion. Medium range models continue to depict a northeastward ejection of the western United States trough across the Rockies into the northern plains by day 4 on Thursday, before shifting across the international border into the Canadian prairie by early day 5. The trough taking an increasingly negative tilt as it advances will drive northern plains cyclogenesis, with the low expected to quickly occlude and retrograde northwestward. The low should reach the southeastern Sacagawea, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, so please excuse that, and southwestern Manitoba vicinity by Friday morning. Within the warm sector, the surface cyclone, a moist boundary layer beneath the steep lapse rates will yield moderate destabilization, allowing widespread storm development as strong ascent focuses near or ahead of the low and near the cold front crossing the Dakotas during the afternoon. As the flow field aloft responds to the increasingly negative tilt of the upper trough, some backing of high level wind field is expected. Although the wind profiles are not to be as conducive to highly organized, long-lived supercells, rotating severe storms are nonetheless likely. Large hail and damaging winds will likely be increasingly common through the late afternoon into the early evening, along with the potential of a couple of tornadoes. Risk should spread eastward into the Dakotas, into Minnesota, into the evening, likely continuing to the overnight hours. So that's basically what's going on. We're not going to talk about days 5, 6, 7, and 8. Predictability too low, predictability too low, predictability too low, predictability too low. But what we are going to talk about is the models right here. We're actually going to go. We're actually going to try to get to there. This is for day 4. So, okay, this is her model. We're actually going to use the NAM for this. So this is for Thursday right here at 21Z actually. So, yeah, already by 7 o'clock, we're seeing Cape values in South Dakota cracking 3,000. We're seeing areas in Iowa and Minnesota cracking 4,000. So this is a pretty conducive environment. Let's go ahead and take a look at the dew point temperatures. Yeah, the dew points in these areas are in the lower 70s to upper 60s. So that's a pretty impressive development right there. Temperatures there's an obvious cold front right here. There's an obvious cold front going on. And you can see this because there's temperatures in the 80s, then temperatures in the 50s in these areas. So that's essentially what's going on right here. we're going to have plenty of moisture with this storm. We're going to have plenty of moisture with this. But with that being said, that is going to wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. It helps me out and helps me make more videos like these. The goal of this channel is to get more people involved with weather. So be sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications for more videos like these. And with that being said, guys, have a wonderful day. Stay safe.